Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of the Ultimate Gorillaz Iceberg. We're all on the Titanic, and there's a big Bowen Yang iceberg right in our path. Oh, that reminds me, did you guys see Leonardo DiCaprio's new girlfriend and how she's like literally a baby? I know that was off topic, but I had to mention it. Plus, that way I can put him in the thumbnail, and if you guys haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of this iceberg, I wouldn't say it's necessary for this video. There are a couple entries that have references to other entries that were in previous videos, so you might be missing a little bit of context, but overall, I think you're probably good to watch this video. But if you want to watch parts 1 and 2 first, I'm not going to stop you. Feel free to go ahead and do so, because right now, we are going to dive right into layer 4 of the Ultimate Gorillaz Iceberg. G-Side's Habbo Hotel. Back in Phase 2, the virtual members of the band joined the game Habbo Hotel to promote their single Dare. I'm not sure why the entry says G-Sides, because as far as I know, they only did this in 2005, which was years after G-Sides came out. Jimmy Kimmel Drama. So, back in Phase 6, Gorillaz were meant to perform their new song Aries live on Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, on his show, not like on top of him. The performance is remarkable because it marks the very first duet between Taemin and 2D, but that's not why this entry is on the Berg. The date of the performance was postponed and moved to a later episode, which made a lot of Gorillaz fans very angry for some reason. The performance was moved because they changed the intended episode into a memorial tribute to Fred Willard, who had recently passed away. And look, no offense, but if you see your favorite band's live performance being postponed because someone just died, and your first instinct is to angrily tweet about it, ugh, yikes. Strobe Light used fans as extras. Basically exactly what it sounds like. They posted a casting call of sorts on Instagram for people in the area to be extras in an upcoming Gorillaz music video, which turned out to be Strobe Light. I remember being so bitter that I couldn't go because I live in America, especially when I saw the finished video and it looked so fun. I know a lot of people hate on this video, but come on. That looks like a fun party. Eden Hazard. During the 2018 World Cup, Gorillaz gave a live performance at a Belgian music festival, Rock Werchter? ? During Kids with Guns, Damon changes the lyrics from Kids with Guns to Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard is a Belgian soccer player, and the World Cup was the following day, so Damon was just showing his support, I guess. I don't know sports.
Eden Hazard, Eden, right? Eden Hazard.
Uno Quattro. This is a remix of Dirty Harry, and from what I can tell, it was made by one of the winners of the Search for a Star contest I mentioned last video. I'm gonna be honest, it is not good. PLC Advert. This entry refers to a British TV advert for the band featuring Phi Life Cypher that ran back in 2001. Pretty much all I could find on it was this Reddit post, which links to a YouTube video that was deleted for some reason. Jamie's stock images. Basically, some fans recently found stock images online that very closely match certain pieces of Jamie's artwork. I assume he was using these images as references, which is obviously really common for artists to do. Murdoch Tour Vlog. Okay, I'm honestly furious because I cannot find this video online, even though I specifically remember watching it on YouTube a few years ago. Basically, it is what it sounds like. It's a tour of the Gorillaz stage filmed by an unknown cameraman who is supposed to be Murdoch. But my guess would be it was a random member of the crew and Phil Cornwell's voice was added over it in post. We see the camera move around and behind the stage as the Gorillaz tribute band prepares for their performance. White Russell. Okay, I'm like 80% sure I know what this entry is talking about, but I could be completely wrong. Basically, the Gorillaz online store G-Foot is notorious for just being awful. There are a million stories from fans of orders that arrive late or not at all, products appearing completely different than they do online, clothing items having misprints or coloring mistakes, and this is an example of one such coloring mistake. Several people who ordered this Russell shirt shared that when it arrived, the colors were lightened in a way that made Russell look white, which is not a good look. This is honestly just one example of a bigger issue. G-Foot sucks, and for the amount these items cost, it's ridiculous that this even happens. Roadkill the Mixtape. Roadkill the Mixtape is a mixtape made by Russell that features songs and quotes from many of the collaborators featured on Demon Days. It was given away at Kid Robot stores with the purchase of a Gorillaz figurine. Snakes and Ladders. Snakes and Ladders is another unreleased song. I'm getting really tired of saying unreleased song, but I can't think of a more interesting way to say it. Snakes and Ladders is a Gorillaz track that was never released in any official capacity. The song was recorded during Phase 2 and was only heard in Bananas. The song was eventually repurposed into the Martina Topley Bird song Soldier Boy, and the verse Roots Manuva recorded was used in the intro for Demon Days. Eyesides. Eyesides is kind of like an official fan-made album. So basically, after The Fall came out, there was an accompanying app called Gorillaz iElectribe, which was a GarageBand-style app where users could create remixes using samples of songs from The Fall. Eyesides is a compilation of 32 remixes that were built into the app to be used as examples. Post-El Mañana Noodle Interview. So for those of you unfamiliar, the music video for El Mañana features the iconic flying windmill being shot down, with Noodle still on board. Obviously, this is pretty bad. She was thought to be dead, but then it turned out she was on vacation, but then it turned out she was actually in hell, but then it turned out that I don't think any of that was true. I'm not sure. They retconned a lot from that era. Point is, during the point in time she was presumed to be dead, she gave an interview in the UK teen magazine Sugar. She doesn't mention the incident at all, and it's worth noting the interview was meant to promote the single Kids with Guns, not El Mañana. To this day, it's still unclear if this was meant to set up the theory that the video was staged, or if the interview was conducted before the incident happened, or if it was just an oversight. Dell falling off. In 2018, Gorillaz played a set at Roskilde Fest in Denmark. While performing Clint Eastwood, rapper Del the Funky Homo Sapien fell off stage, fracturing 7 ribs and puncturing a lung. After some time in the hospital, thankfully, he made a full recovery. I remember seeing this happen in real time. It was really frightening watching the show get cut short when nobody really knew what had happened. I'm so glad he's okay. Also, I am not trying to make light of the situation at all, but every time I see this entry, I think of that one video of Travis Scott falling off stage, which is so funny. The feds! Oh no! So you would think this is another unreleased song, but it's a little bit weirder than that. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, so I'll explain it best I can. Before the rise of music streaming platforms like Spotify, music wasn't as easily accessible on the internet, and it would often be shared on sites like LimeWire. Keep in mind this wasn't super legal because you weren't streaming this music from the artist who made it, you were downloading a bootleg copy from some guy on the internet. And on certain bootleg copies of Gorillaz' debut album, this track was included under the title Left Hand Suzuki Method.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Keep in mind, Left Hand Suzuki Method is a real Gorillaz song, but The Feds isn't. It just ended up on some of these illegal copies. The weird thing is, nobody knows who actually made the song. Some people think it was made by a group called Ghetto Gorillaz, which could explain the mix-up, but 2 decades later, nobody has come forward. Routine. Out of every Gorillaz song that has never been released in an official capacity, this one is my favorite. So you may be familiar with Dan the Automator, who produced the first Gorillaz album. He made a song featuring Gorillaz called Lonely Man, which was supposed to appear on one of his own albums, but it never made it there. It was eventually remixed by Kid Koala into a song called Routine, or Gorillaz Routine. This remix was played live once at a Kid Koala gig and was supposed to be on his following album, but that didn't happen either. So we have the unofficial version of Routine, but we've never heard Lonely Man. If you've never heard Routine, give it a listen. There's a high quality version of it on YouTube. I find it very soothing, and it's one of my favorite songs from all of Phase 1. Small Time Shot Away. This is a song by the group Massive Attack released in 2003. The song features 2D. Guys, I really hope these types of entries aren't getting repetitive. If they are, let me know in the comments, and in the next part, which is the last part by the way, I can cut down my descriptions or even just skip the entries. Bongo Ape. Remember this picture from the last video? This is one of the very first images Jamie ever drew of what would become Gorillaz. As you can see, this little guy never actually made it into the band, but he was supposed to play the bongos. I assume he was eventually reworked into Mike the Monkey. Johnny Cash. So I mentioned Damon's album Demo Crazy a couple videos ago, but if you don't remember, this is a compilation album of a bunch of Damon's demos. One of these demos was called Gotta Get Down with the Passing of Time. This song was supposed to be on Demon Days featuring, obviously, Johnny Cash, but when he passed away in 2003, the song was scrapped. Exhibition. So, back in 2006, the Design Museum in London held a Designer of the Year exhibition, and Jamie Hewlett was one of the featured designers. The exhibit featured a lot of Phase 2 artwork, some of which had never been seen at the time. Fright Night. So, this was a watch party event Gorillaz held on Facebook, which ended up just being a stream of trailers for different horror movies like Rosemary's Baby, It Follows, and Dawn of the Dead. Mel, aka Mel 9000, was another feature of the Kong Studios website during Phase 1. Mel was the main server in the building who had control over all the technology within, including the air vents, which he wanted to flood with a toxic gas to kill the band. His name, Mel 9000, is a reference to HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Rodeo Laugh. In a 2020 interview with Gorillaz live bassist Shea Delican, he mentioned a demo called Rodeo Life. This was possibly a working title for what became the song Idaho or another lost demo from the Now Now. Ambulance. In part 3, I mentioned the Blur album Think Tank. One of the tracks on this album, Ambulance, was originally written for Gorillaz, but was used for Blur instead. Golden Noodle Kid Robot. I've already mentioned the Kid Robot figures, but basically those were vinyl figures of the characters before Super Plastic. This one was a rejected prototype of a golden noodle. T-Mobile. During Phase 4, Gorillaz partnered with T-Mobile to create the Lens app. This was an app that, when pointed at anything magenta, would open a window into the world of Gorillaz, which was basically just pictures of the band. There was also this absolutely fantastic interview.
This is gonna be a meme.
Phase 1 Suicide Prevention. So obviously for this entry I'm going to put a trigger warning because this entry specifically will contain heavy discussion of suicide. So the context for this is that back in Phase 1, Jamie himself would go online and chat with fans as the fictional members of the band. I'll just read this quote directly from him. Murdoch gets online and talks to the fans, and one night we were on late talking to fans, and we had some kid come on from America who hated his parents, hated life, everything was and was going to kill himself. We were online for 3 hours as Murdoch trying to talk him down and make him realize that it was all right. This was all as Murdoch, and he was talking to him as Murdoch. The thing is, we needed to talk him down and were careful about what we said, otherwise you'd end up with something horrible happening. But we spent 3 hours talking him down and it got pretty heavy. But at the end he was fine and was like, cheers. Honestly, I think about this incident more often than I should, and I often wonder where that person is today. I hope he's alright. Flamfish. So, on the Plastic Beach era Gorillaz website, there was a game in which you had to free Murdoch from his secret bunker room, and to do so, you needed a wrench. One of the steps to getting this wrench is to feed a bit of flam, which is like a parody of Spam, to Murdoch's pet fish. Motorcycle. Okay, this is a really fun one. Back in 2008, it was discovered that what was thought to be the official Gorillaz YouTube channel was completely fake. This post from a deleted Reddit user reads as follows. They had all the videos uploaded, and these were by far the most popular uploads at the time. Clint Eastwood had like 10 million views, Feel Good Inc. had slightly less. The descriptions were all written like it was Damon personally uploading the videos. Example, we didn't finish the 5-4 video because Jamie and me didn't think it was Gorillaz enough. Which probably didn't convince many, but as a 10-year-old, I sure believed it. And then one day they uploaded a video called Jimmy Neutron Copied Gorillaz, which was quite obviously made in Windows Movie Maker. After this, the channel pivoted mostly to uploading concert footage of the musician Buckethead, as well as something called Motorcycle Bitch that I never had the courage to click on. So unlike this user, I'm not a and I went and found it. It's just a performance of a bunch of guys singing a song, and you'll never guess what it's called. The motorcycle video was submitted as part of the Search for a Star contest, but because it was uploaded by the fake Gorillaz channel, some people think the group behind Motorcycle were also behind the channel, but that's unconfirmed. Plastic Flowers. So basically this was all an ad campaign to promote Plastic Beach, but it's actually pretty cool. EMI decided they wanted to use influencers, which at the time were just bloggers, to promote the album on a budget of just $3,000. I have no idea how much money goes into album promotion, but I imagine that's a pretty small number. So what had happened was, Sydney artist Jane Gillings created a collection of plastic flowers cobbled from everyday items. These flowers were sent to 20 different music bloggers along with a letter from Murdoch, a flash drive, and the album itself. These bloggers obviously shared this gift on their platforms because it's super cool, and the album debuted at #1 in Australia, so clearly it worked. I honestly wish they would do more stuff like this. Sweepstakes Instrumental. Every single track on Plastic Beach has an official instrumental, except Sweepstakes. It seems to have been available at some point, but it's since been lost, which really sucks. The idea of an entire instrumental for a relatively well-known track being completely lost is just bizarre. And you know what? Sweepstakes gets too much hate. If any track on Plastic Beach deserves an official instrumental, it's this one, because that beat fucks. Chi-Town Live. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Fall is the most overhated and underrated Gorillaz album ever. Because it was received so poorly by fans, pretty much zero material from the album has ever been played live, except during a 2018 show in Chicago when the song Chi-Town was played live. Space Monkeys' Demon Days. In 2006, it was rumored that Space Monkeys would return to remix Demon Days in the same way they did Gorillaz. Clearly this didn't happen. Notting Hill 2000. The very first Gorillaz live gig was at the Notting Hill Carnival in 2000. Also, I would like to take a minute to clarify something I said a super long time ago in my Gorillaz album ranking video. I thought Meanwhile, the EP, was a tribute to Carnival, like the thing in Rio. It's not. It was for the Notting Hill Carnival, obviously. What a moron. Also, I'm really sorry if the audio in the first half of the video was kinda. The weather here has been crazy lately. Last night it was like super warm, so I had my fan on while I was recording, and I didn't realize that it would add that kind of hissing noise in the background. And tonight it is freezing cold, so my fan is off, and the audio should be better, so I'm sorry about that. Deltron 3030. This was an album by Gorillaz collaborator Del. Hi, this is Editing Sahana coming in voice form for the first time to inform you guys that I'm stupid. This album was not from Del specifically, it was from the supergroup Deltron 3030, composed of Del, Dan the Automator, and Kid Koala, who I all mentioned before previously in this video. Sorry. It's not really connected to Gorillaz themselves, other than the fact that Damon features on 3 songs: State of the Nation, Time Keeps on Slipping, and The Ass Man 640 Speaks. Japanese self-titled commercial. This is exactly what it sounds like. Taiwanese Daft Punk CD. I don't think I need to explain who Daft Punk were, but just in case, Daft Punk were a musical duo who, similar to Gorillaz, wore helmets to conceal their identity. Remember, the original intention of Gorillaz was to keep Damon and Jamie anonymous. Back when Gorillaz first started out, they had a relationship with Daft Punk that was not really a rivalry, but was kind of mutualistic in terms of marketing. In Taiwan, CDs were sold to advertise both groups at once. Hit clips. This was another piece of Phase 1 merchandise. Hit clips were these tiny little audio players that played little clips of hit songs. You had like a cartridge of whatever song you wanted, and then you'd pop it in and listen to like a 1-minute clip of the music. Cartridges from all the top artists of the time were available, like Backstreet Boys, Destiny's Child, and Gorillaz with Clint Eastwood. Revolving Doors MTV. This was a visual that was meant to accompany the single Revolving Doors when it aired on MTV. It was never released anywhere officially, so it's hard to say who made it, where it came from, and if it still exists outside of uploads from independent users. Handsome Boy Modeling School. This is another one of those entries that is kind of related to Gorillaz, but Handsome Boy Modeling School was a duo comprised of Dan the Automator, who produced the first Gorillaz album, and Prince Paul, who often produces for Gorillaz collaborator De La Soul. They've released 2 albums and have worked with a ton of high-profile artists like Pharrell, Jack Johnson, and Dell. GU. GU stands for Gorillaz Unofficial, which was an online community focused on Gorillaz created all the way back in 2004. It's been acknowledged by several people involved with the band and was even featured in Rise of the Ogre. They've even done interviews with Damon, Jamie, and Cass. The website itself doesn't exist anymore, but they're active on Twitter, Instagram, and Discord, which is actually where the Free the Sea campaign got started. They've recently gotten into some controversy because apparently their Discord was like a terrible environment for people of color, but I won't get too deep into that because that could be its own video. Fear God Inc. So, the Westboro Baptist Church is a very infamously homophobic church to the point where this is the URL for their official website. This website also features such enlightened takes as remarriage after divorce is adultery, COVID-19 is God's punishment for sinners, and my personal favorite, human beings actually don't have free will. Anyways, they made a cover parody thing of Feel Good Inc. called Fear God Inc. Not sure if they're familiar with the concept of, Murdoch's entire existence, but I assume they wouldn't love it. But you know what? If anyone involved with the church or any conservative Christian happens to stumble upon this video, I feel like I should inform you that there actually is a document out there that disproves your claim of homosexuality being a sin. Yeah, it's actually the 34th verse in the 2nd chapter of the New Testament. And I'll save you the trouble to find the document online. Just Google 2doc Rule 34. Have a blessed day. Yeah, you know what? I'm just not even gonna say this one.
Pass.
Sonos Spirit House. This was a really cool kind of experience where the band teamed up with Sonos to recreate the Spirit House Lounge in different cities across the world. They then would host listening parties for humans using the Sonos speaker system. It was a really interesting interactive event. I mean, listen, we can talk shit about Gorillaz brand deals all day, but I love when the fictional aspects of the band are brought into the real world. I feel like a lot of people overlook how innovative Phase 4 was. Commercial, yes, but stuff like the AR app, the Jaguar ARG, the mocap interviews, and of course these Sonos events were really clever and creative, and we haven't really seen anything like it before or since. Pharrell. You guys know Pharrell, the vampire with the big hat. I think he also makes music or something, but I'm not sure. He was supposed to feature on the album The Fall, but obviously this never came to be. I assume it was because he was busy working on the Despicable Me soundtrack. Sunday Times advert. The final entry of this layer refers to an ad featuring Jamie and Damon speaking about Gorillaz for the British newspaper The Sunday Times. And that is going to wrap up layer 4 of the Ultimate Gorillaz Iceberg. That's going to be all for this video. I know a couple of you guys said that you wanted more long form content from me, but I decided to only go with one layer for this video for two reasons. First of all, I wanted there to be an even number of videos, and since I did one layer in the last one, I decided to do one layer in this one, and then wrap things up with the last two layers in my next video. Secondly, my computer is very old and very shitty, and the longer a video gets, the less it wants to cooperate with me, especially for Iceberg videos because those require a lot of extra images and clips for context, and so the more stuff I add to the video, the slower my computer runs and the more painful the whole process gets for me. But I'm really going to try and fit in the last two layers as one video. I don't care how long it's going to be because honestly, long form content is something that I've always wanted to make, but I might have to sacrifice a little bit of editing in favor of the longer runtime. That's going to be all for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you liked me, be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you want, you can even turn notifications on so you'll be the first to know when I'm playing the violin and like yelling and the old people are like spooning on the bed ready to die. Anyways, that's all from me. I gotta go make myself a Raya profile because I'm trying to catch myself a Leonardo. Bye!